How do delves compare to the digs in terms of general fun replayability? Well, the delves have gameplay in them, as in World of Warcraft class gameplay. You're fighting enemies that are
those
kind
digs.
of there.
Yeah.
You're fighting enemies quite a lot. They're quite challenging when they come to like having mechanics. Not super hard, but there's a couple of, I guess, really fun elements that, like, obviously, like Holly said on the Xbox podcast that she is the casual representative in the team. So she always represents the casuals and somewhat to some degree the mid-core players that they talk about, which are people who aren't the giga sweaty nerds, but more the people who collect and kind of dabble in and out. And I think one of the funnest parts of that is actually delves will be like obviously like maybe at the highest tier with, you know, slightly under geared or something. It'll be, you know, challenging enough for someone who plays the game a lot and wants mid star stuff. But in the 13th delve is purported to be hard and stuff. But I think for most players, they'll actually have a good time in the delves. They'll find them challenging enough until they learn them, and they'll sort of enjoy pushing them.
That's a big difference from the first time we played them, though.
Yes, they're a very, very good. That's the big difference.
So yeah, I mean that's probably so. Like, I've not played the delves at endgame. I have played delves at like level 72, 73. So I guess that's me doing like a tier 1 or tier 2?
Tier 2, sorry, tier 2.
Okay, so you're doing tier 3 at max level.
No.
Tier 2 at max level?
No.
Tier 1 at max level?
I did tier 9 today.
Tier 9?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, of course, yeah, because the season... yes, right. Okay, a 9.
Yeah, like you unlock them like
so
as you go up. You do a 5, you get a 6. You unlock 7, you unlock 8, you unlock 9.
How many more 11. Mechanics? Because it seemed that we're definitely sparse at like a 1 or a 2.
Yes, so there's a lot more mechanics. There's a lot more mechanics. Not like a huge amount of overwhelming stuff. But the two things really made them feel different was there was more stuff in them overall. They were definitely sparse and incomplete. So now there's more enemies, there's more events where enemy spawns. Some of them are still pretty simple, where you just go and click a couple things and then walk through and kill enemies. That's like simple enough. There's now variety, which is interesting. When you go in there, different things happen. There's the earth crawl mines, for an example. One time you go into the room and it's clear out, it's rescue all the guys with a grappling shot mechanic to get over web pits. The next time you go in, it's, or not the next time, but another time you go in, it could be something else. Like a ambush, which is a Nerubian ambush based on like, there's story variations of delve. You go into rescue miners, or you go into, investigate lost lamplighter's, stuff like that, which is kind of changed up a little bit of how it actually feels to play. But the thing that got me was that they're balanced enough for the item level that they give you, because they give you the exact item level that they recommend. So it's like you'll go in and be like tier 7 is like 574 or something, so they set you to 574. Then tier 9 is like 60 whatever, so they set you that. So it is like exactly what it is. But for me, it was the perfect blend of I can't just no-brain this. It does push me to use defensive properly. It does push me to interrupt the right spell or, dispel the right thing.
Well, this is all encouraging.
Yeah, it's definitely...
now, 9 is the highest in terms of gear, or is it 8 that's the highest in terms of gear?
I could not tell you. I have no brain for those details whatsoever.
Yeah, because I think that there are a few more tiers beyond where you stop getting more gear the more that you do the delve. Interesting. Yeah. Because like the large concern that everyone had was that these would just end up being sort of cakewalks, or you would end up sort of feeling a Torghast-y sort of chore. Chore problem. But here in the actual, here in the second-to-second gameplay, things appear to be working out.
Yes.
Okay.
And aesthetically, a lot of them have the issue. I haven't done all of them because there's a lot of delves. I haven't done all of them. I was kind of going through like a few that I recognized.
12 delves in total,
yeah, 12 and the 13th hidden one.
Yes, which they've said they won't be testing, by the way. So
yes.
That's the boss sort of Mage Tower inspired one, so it'll be a total secret, it seems.
Yeah, and based on what they have done for existing bosses mechanics, I can see them actually being able to give you a Mage Tower like experience boss wise, because the design is all there. The design is all there of, you can, as an example, if you have a stealth ability, certain delves you can just blast through and do way faster because you don't need to fight a load of boys.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones that are just like, here's a room full of dudes, kill them all. Then there's other ones that are like, you know, click these things and, you know, the things are around that, stuff like that. So it is, it's I'm way happier about them than I was at the beginning of Alpha. That's for sure. In the way that
And
any
a lot of
games-
people have those concerns.
Yeah.
Like even at the Alpha gameplay event, just like the talk between people was, these are easy. We will be paying a close eye.
Yeah, they're not difficult, but they do like ask you to play your class a little bit.
That's probably what you want.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, like you probably don't want some sort of like rock hard. I don't know why I just for like default think of playing like was it Inferno, whatever the higher difficulties were in Diablo 3 on launch, where you know you make like one tiny mistake and you're dead. Yeah, so people don't want that. You don't want to cakewalk things. You want it to matter enough that you feel like your inputs matter. You get into a flow state. I suppose a little bit like people who would be farming aspects of the higher up mobs in Timeless Isle back in the day, where like there's enough of a little second to second gameplay loop of dodge the shield, dodge the swirlies that fall, you know, do all of that.
Yeah, so there's maybe a little concern about length, depending on how much damage you can do and how fast you can go. Because like at the recommended level, and I'm not a very good hunter player, right? I've almost never played hunter very much. I kind of struggle with it pretty hard, just because I'm not used to it. Like I know what all the buttons do, but I was like, okay, I was kind of adjusting, and it took me a good like 15 minutes to do tier 7, 8, and 9s of one delve. That was a little bit slower because I had to kill a lot of mobs, and they were very like they were not like super tough, but they had plenty of health and they were doing things. How was Bran in terms of his skills at higher levels? So I didn't notice him very much when he was DPS, when I was doing these as a prot paladin and a rep paladin. But I set him to healer when I was hunter, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. Because he throws potions down, and you walk over the potion and heal like 10% of your HP or something like that. Which is very useful in a game where you have an unbelievable amount of like, I guess just incoming damage all the time that really push you to use everything to your potential. So like a lot of some of the mobs have the pretty basic kind of aspect of they have say 2 or 3 spells. One is going to hurt. One is going to fucking kill you. So you don't really get to interrupt the one that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
Unless you can like stun and chain stun. And as the delves go up, they get more HP and more damage and stuff like that to slightly outscale your gear a little tiny bit. So they do take longer and longer to kill, which means, I want to have a cooldown for that. It's like a good version of the like War of Attrition World of Warcraft can be when it comes to having self-healing, having defensive and things like that.
Yeah, where it's almost like some situations in Classic where maybe you overpull and it's not an instant death, but it is a slow death unless you play pretty well.
Yeah, so it is a little interesting.
I've always found those to be compelling in gameplay. Like, you know those moments where you live with like 5% health and you're like, oh my god, if I took 1 or 2 more swings, I would have been dead. And that ends up feeling quite good.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. And obviously, compared to Classic, World of Warcraft now is extremely mechanically heavy.
Oh, yeah.
So there's obviously, like, every time I died to something, I was like, there's like 47 buttons I could have pressed. And even knowing that, I was like, okay, well, if I learn Hunter, I'll be able to do this. And he's like, I easily could have freezing trapped that. I easily could have steel trapped and made some different distance from that guy. I clearly could have, like, I wasn't optimizing my mend pet, so I wasn't up all time, so my pet died. Like, if I had optimized that better, it would have been fine. You know, when did I exhale? Did I exhale for me or did I exhale for my pet? Did I survival the fittest for me or my pet? Because now you have 2 charges survival the fittest. We'll talk about Hunter rework in a bit.
That'll be interesting in low sustain classes.
That's where Brand's healing is going to be very, very, very important, I think. But also there's like, you can not need so much sustain if you are 1, vaguely careful, 2, you know, play the game half decently. If you've got plenty CC, like a rogue, for example, just like saps and blinds and gouges and stuff, it's gonna be a little bit slower than just pull everything AoE, but you will be able to like have less problems.
So that's like some of our combat gameplay. When we move into puzzles, not puzzles as in, you know, an overt something appears in your screen and you solve it, but environmental gameplay like traversal throughout the space. Is it still mostly a hold W key, path yourself decently between mobs, or like you mentioned a grapple hook. So yeah. What are we like in terms of? People think of, say, Tomb Raider, and it is more than just Lara Croft shooting dinosaurs, or whatever happens in the old PS1 games. Like there is the exploration, the traversal. So I know that they've wanted to get that maybe adventure-ish feel in Delves, or like gameplay differentiation between runs of the same Delve in different weeks.
So if you wanted to be extremely, I can't really figure out the right term for it. If you wanted to reduce things down to their base inputs, it is hold W a lot of the time, but there is enough little bits of flavor added to the way you're holding W, to how you're jumping around, how you're being thrown around, things like that it does make them feel a little bit more like adventure kind of things. It's not super. No, I have not tried them with a group yet. I've just been doing them solo. I assume a group would make them way easier, just because you have access to more utility for the same mobs, unless they have a lot of different skilling. But I don't know. I know people were saying group stuff was bugged in beta as well, so I didn't try that. Like just crashing for them with two people and stuff like that. So to talk about the traversal point a little bit more, I guess I'll give a few examples. There's the Mycelium Cavern. I can't remember. Some mushroom cavern, basically. And there's a lot of verticality to it. And the verticality is handled by mushrooms that you bounce on. Yeah. So you jump on a mushroom, it just goes, there you go. And in that, there's usually a rare mob that gives you a double jump as well if you kill it. And those are rare elites that actually will kill you if you're not careful. And it gives you a mycelium, yeah. So it gives you a lot of specific stuff that you'll feel that you'll enjoy while you're doing that, which I very much appreciated. It doesn't feel super amazing because it is World of Warcraft. They're moving your character up in a way. Obviously, they're a little limited. They don't have it's nothing like the gameplay of
limitations are still there.
Yeah, it's not like the gameplay of the Dalaran magic jumpy world quest from Legion, which I still miss. But there's that as one example. There's also the Nightfall one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a cavern hollow fall, and you're taking out the Nightfall. You're it's destroying the shadow barriers by you start at the start of the delve, and instead of going linearly through it, you hop on a ballista, get launched to the end. You pick up some sanctified oil that they've stolen, and then you use that to destroy all these shadow barriers on your way back to the start. And then you can fight the boss at the start of the delve and just walk out after, which is fun. Most of them are you go to the end and then you get teleported out. So it is even the way you go to the end first, obviously, but even that feels a little bit more engaging because you're properly jumping into the back end of delve.
Warmer. Things are getting warmer.
Substantially, yeah.
That's really positive.
Oh yeah, delves. I don't know if I'll be super excited to them, but I will be. The prospect of doing a bunch of them on a bunch of different classes, especially as the tiers get higher.
And if you're getting gear, do you think that, because Torghast we were doing just for our legendaries, and that ended up making Torghast, hello Mr. Cat, there we go, it did switch, woo. That made Torghast just ultimately feel like a chore. So even if you could enjoy going through the regular 6th floor Torghast that they shipped, it would eventually turn into a chore because you're just doing it for Ash and Cinders. So here, if you're doing the delves for the sake of doing the delves, but also to get the keys, and then to open the resplendent chests at the end, do you feel like that loot reward, delve to delve, will end up being compelling in a way that will... Well, I suppose... I'm almost answering my own question because I just realized, when you do delves, you fill up the Great Vault. And I know that we have had, criticisms of Great Vault before, but compared to just doing a bunch of Torghast purely only for legendary crafting materials, this does seem like the reward loop is not going to lead to that, extremely demotivational week-to-week situation.
Yeah, so you end up with, I think, the grand strategy that they devised through Dragonflight with the upgrade system, and how everything feeds into that just works pretty well, because you'll get your weekly source of upgrade from them if you go in with a key. I haven't played around getting keys and stuff like that all that much, so I'm not super sure how that'll feel. I do know just going in and doing them for fun and getting a handful of crests feels okay. It's not very many, but it's also if you do a delve fast, you're in out 5-7 minutes. So obviously it's very like you could do 10 delves in an
Yeah.
hour if you were really
Well,
gaming for
imagine
it.
if you start out going half that speed, and then within 2 or 3 weeks of gearing, you're going significantly faster. That's actually going to feel good.
And
Like,
not even
I-
just gearing, it'll be like the fun part of it is that there'll be optimizations in your movement. That's for sure. Like one of the things in the Hollowfall one specifically with the Nightfall was as a hunter, obviously having disengage.
Yes.
And this is like a pretty big area. And there's like 6 hotspots you have to get to. And they're like click things. If I were to be smart and use camouflage and feign death instead of fighting things, I was mostly fighting things because I wanted to see how Hunter felt. I could have been way faster if I had like, especially like, because I play a Feral Druid mostly. If I went in there as a Feral Druid, I would be in and out in 5 minutes because I would be able to immediately, especially because I'm a Night Elf, I'd be able to, stealth in, click a thing, shadow melt out.
Now, there's
do
ways that
very
could
quickly.
be a problem.
Uh,
Does killing... Because like sometimes in a game when you have an objective to go to and then you pull a mob, it's like, I gotta do this mob. That's not gonna get...
the vast
Or do you
majority,
feel like it's actually pretty good? Because say in a game like Diablo, if you pull a whole bunch of extra mobs, well, that's kind of okay because they're XP. And you can use that.
the vast majority of actual fight time and like health pools and danger is specified around elite mobs and bosses.
Okay.
And most of the time they're very smart on when they throw those at you. Like if you're just like picking some fights that are around, they die super quick. I noticed that and I was like, is this right? Is there something wrong here? Because I was like pulling an elite and be like, I'm fighting for my life here. This is a horrible nightmare. Jesus Christ, help me. To be fair, this was like I just
It's all gone wrong.
Yeah, I had just woken up. I was super like dazed because it was the middle of the day. I woke up and I died to the same elite like 3 times in a row because of the mechanic that I didn't use my eyeballs to understand. But
Lovely.
then I was killing other mobs around the area and I was just like, and there's a, multi-shot kill command. Oh, where'd they go? Oh, they're all like mostly dead already, yes. Like in a couple of button presses, like an explosive shot, multi-shot, kill command, they would actually just be dead. But then the elite would be like, right now I have to press my cooldown to fight them for a minute and a half.
Right.
And like keep my eye on interrupting the right thing, keep my eye on, say, I won't interrupt the thing that buffs them because I have trank shot. So all I need to do is watch for that cast, throw a trank shot as soon as it's finished. Their haste buff is negated. I keep the interrupt for, the muzzle counter shot for something else.
God damn, you just mentioned trank shot.
Yeah,
It's using utility.
yeah.
You're almost, man. You're in dangerous territory. You're about to make me mention a Cataclysm heroic. It's very dangerous.
Like, yeah, that's clearly what they're going for.
Good shit.
And I think the fact that they're building up all of their utility over that, and it's mostly been in the context of Mythic Plus Dungeons so far.
Yeah.
It works really well for single player stuff. Now, I haven't taken some of the weaker classes in utility form. Like, I haven't taken, because it'd be kind of, I suppose Shaman's got Purge and Cap Totem and Self-Healing, so that's okay. I would maybe be a little bit concerned about taking a Rogue in. Obviously, they've got a lot of CC, but, CC only gets you so far. I know they've got like Cloak of Shadow and stuff, and probably and Shiv,
stuff that you can play well and
like
do well,
Shiv is a
probably.
soothe now, stuff like that.
Okay.
Like Warrior might slightly struggle, but then Warrior's got 1,000 cooldowns and heals for 1 billion. You got second wind, so you just literally jump away and line of sight and you're fine.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's actually probably fine once I get down to it.
Right.
But-
So we essentially are actually looking pretty up here.
Yeah,
That's
I'm very,
that's
very
fucking heartening.
I'm very, very up on Delves playing them beta.
That's really goddamn heartening because there was I don't want to say a fear, but there was that when we were at the creator event, everyone's like, oh, we all knew that we had done island expeditions in Torghast before. And we were we went into that very first delve. We're like, the hot fix is, or not the hot fix, the affix is there's like a little bit of goo in the floor, a little bit of Nerubian goo, walk slowly, but no, if it's then actually, sorry, I know I'm a little bit scatterbrained today.
I'll give a different example to kind of help illustrate, and that is I remember the Kriegville's Rest, the other one in the Isle of Dorn, which
That's
is
good
the
Arakoa noise.
which is the
He's speaking to the birds.
which is the kobold one with the candle, right?
Mm.
It's the candle, and you have to carry the candle around. They've tuned it well, so if you're really dumb with your movement, the candle does drain just before you get to another one.
Mm.
So like you do feel a little bit of the pressure if you really mess about and piss about. But one of the things I laughed about was in the initial version, and I wish I could, I wish this was like an edited video so I could just be like, here's the two comparisons. But like the comparison of the first time I did it,
Do you think we may have an edited video in the works?
maybe
This is sounding video worthy.
yeah. So there's the old version where
Getting excited.
there was like the trap was here are two candles and they're shooting fire in like a gate, and they would shoot for like 3 seconds, stop for 3 seconds, shoot for things or whatever time it was, and you could also jump around the side of the candle as well. You could also do that, but also it didn't really do any damage, and it also there's like 3 of those in the whole dungeon. And then I did it on tier 7. I think it was tier 7, tier 6, might have been something along those lines anyway. And it wasn't particularly challenging because this was me as prop paladin. I just kind of walked over because I could heal myself forever and lay on hands and stuff. But what actually did happen was I was like, this dungeon's on fire. The candles are no longer shooting the straight line. They're now the flame traps that shoot like in a 180-degree line and rotate. And there's like 7 of them in a room. And you go into every room and it's like, oh, fuck. Oh, I have to time my walk to this. Oh, there's enemies. I have to pull enemies out of the flames. I have to move through here without getting hit by the fire, which hits me for like 20% of my health a tick. And I'm like, oh, so even if I just sprint through it, I'm probably going to die. So I do have to be careful unless I like bubble and stuff. So there's a lot of, you've just thrown more stuff into this and it's worked.
Yeah.
It's like
That's the bit that matters, that it worked.
Yeah.
Thinking of Island Expeditions. Like Island Expeditions, I'd almost bring them up because there was quite a lot of potential. And Island Expeditions in PvP is actually a pretty compelling game mode. I don't want to say that it's like Gambit in Destiny, because it's not like Gambit in Destiny, but it is that sort of like PvEVP thing. The thing is, a lot of the design they threw in there ended up just completely not mattering because of gear, right? Like the way that it's scaled.